I guess we'll get started. So, I mean, thank you so much, Coach Coppinger, for joining us today. Coach Coppinger is on the coaching staff for the University of Akron, a big-time Division I men's soccer program in the US. Not only are they a great college program, but they have had a lot of athletes that have got aspirations of going professional, whether it's in the US or outside. So I'm excited about this chat. I guess to get started, Coach, let's talk a little bit about how you got into, I'll say, soccer instead of football, even though I know you're from Europe. But how did you get into soccer?
Basically, my dad didn't have a choice. My sister did some Irish dancing at a pretty high level. And it was a case of, when I was 4 years old, it was a case of going to watch her dance or going to the games with my dad. So that was how it all began. In terms of America, that first got brought up to me. I was 17 in high school and basically just didn't know what I wanted to do, other than every kid has aspirations to be a pro. I was probably a little bit more realistic than most in terms of knowing that wasn't going to happen for me.
Right.
So when America was brought up to me, it was an unbelievable opportunity to, have a goal basically and something to strive for. So finished high school, and then I did 1 year at kind of like a gap year at a school in Ireland, which no longer exists, that basically gears students to come to America. So a lot of the Irish guys currently coaching, or even some still playing in the US, came through that program called Colosh Ida. They just shut it down. A couple of years ago, the government refused to fund it anymore. Too many people were emigrating was the excuse they gave. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it no longer exists, which is a real shame, because it gave people like myself that didn't have anything going for them the opportunity to, live a good life. I mean, I have to say, since I came here, I've never really ever wanted to go home. So when I did my 4 years, I played 1 year for the current head coach at Akron, at a small NAIA school, not called Missouri Baptist. And then Coach Embick moved to Akron. We got another coach, Ian Dino Merrick, who had for 3 years. And then when I did graduate, an opportunity became available at Missouri State University, which I went to and coached there for 4 years, which was an unbelievable opportunity because we had 3 on staff, and there was basically 2 of us doing all the soccer stuff, and the head coach did all the behind the scenes work and fundraising and other things like that. So I got to see all aspects of what it takes to run a college soccer program. And when Akron and Coach Embick gave me the call then in 2015, it was a case of full-time job, visa to stay in America, and an opportunity to work for a guy I knew was an excellent coach because he was my head coach. So took that opportunity of being here ever since. So now I'm going into season 6 at Akron. So
That's incredible.
It's been great basically since the day I got here.
That's awesome. Now, being a big-time program, obviously we've seen your social media. Your social media is pretty impressive. You get to see what your athletes are like physically and what kind of style of play you guys have. What kind of style of play do you guys play in? Because I know that we've spoken in the past where, you do prefer some athletes over some others, but I thought it'd be a great time to ask you, what style of play do you guys play to? Is it sort of like a case by case based on who you're playing, or do you have like a set structure that you follow?
I think Akron style is a unique playing style compared to a lot of college programs. We have rich tradition of winning trophies, and we also like to do it with some skill and flair. We changed it a little bit for the last year. We played a 4-3-3, real aggressive pressing style, but our formations can change year to year depending on the personnel in which we have coming in, but our philosophy and head coach's philosophy will always be attack oriented. We attack from the back. And I think if you speak to a lot of other coaches that play against us, they'll agree with this. They'll agree with that statement. I know a number of Big Ten schools enjoy playing against us specifically because it's a great game, and they know what's going to come from it. But the personnel, everyone tries to get the best players, right? But at the end of the day, our style will always be similar every year with some adaptations depending on which players we have available at that year, but it will always be attack first, score more than you concede, and ultimately, obviously, you win games that way, right? But the philosophy of Coach Embick will always be play on the front foot, both sides of the ball. Like, have attacking players that can create chances, score goals, have defensive players that can put out fires and start attacks, right? And that's always going to be the way it's going to be at Akron. It's demanded from our fans. If we're not playing a nice soccer style, and you'll pretty much hear about it at halftime when you're walking down the dugouts underneath the main stand. The main bleachers. They'll let you know. We had a couple of games, in the past year when it wasn't going our way at halftime, and the team talk was done for you. You go underneath the tunnel, the 12th man have told you, you know what, this isn't acceptable. And thankfully, in those games, it's actually, we've come out on the good end of it. The second half, good performance. So that will always be the way it will be here. I can't see that ever changing. It's been now since basically 2009 was when, the first time that Akron was really like, wow, okay, this program's a big time program again. And when they went to the Final Four and they hadn't lost the game all year and ended up losing the final and PKs in 2009. And then in 2010, they win the championship, losing one game. And that was the years then that people thought, okay, first of all, you can actually win a title at Akron.
Yeah.
And you compete with all the big powerhouse schools in this sport. And, and Coach Embick was part of that as an assistant, and now obviously carried that over to where in my time at Akron now we've been in 3 Final Fours, and it's all been playing that style,
I mean, I there's a few people that have been following our journey on the platform, they're part of the platform community, and I think it was March last year, we did an Instagram live and you kind of spoke a little bit about this and gave us a bit of an overview on Akron as a whole. But we've got some new members that have joined our community recently that will be hearing this conversation for the first time. Do you mind walking us through what Akron is actually like as a university, what the culture is kind of like, and how diverse, like, is there a lot of internationals on campus as well?
Yeah, I mean, our school the school as a whole isn't overly diverse, but the sports and athletics departments is very diverse. And our team,
Right.
it's I can't tell you the exact figure, but it's about 50-50 for US students to international students. And we've had, in my time here, we've had probably anywhere between 10 to 12 different nationalities, including, this year now we've a Chilean kid coming in, which is the first time we've had a Chilean kid. So that's another nation to add to our repertoire here. But it will, in terms of diversity, all different types of races, nationalities on campus, you can find everything here, right? And it's one of my favorite parts of working here. I don't feel out of place not being an American, right? In terms of the university as a whole, what I like about it is to walk from one side of our campus to the other side of our campus is 15 minutes maximum if you're a slow walker. And I like that because it's almost like it's a big school in a small school environment in terms of, like, I know everybody. We pass people going to lunch. There's pretty much 2 places that you can eat lunch on campus. There's multiple off campus and walkable.
Right.
But I like being able to see the same faces every day. I have relationships with everybody I need to have relationships with in terms of compliance and academics, and they would all know who I am, not just through email, but through face. So, and I think that also helps our success is that, our kids know that we have relationships with the people that they work with, both in the classroom and on the field. And that's great chemistry to have within the school. You're gonna have to edit this. What was the second part of your question there?
Like, just in terms of Akron as a whole, like in terms of the facility, someone that hasn't been there, obviously you see the campus is quite nice and compact.
Right.
Obviously, you just, as you mentioned, it's quite international across the different sporting codes, which is brilliant.
Right.
What are the facilities like for an athlete?
I mean, another favorite part of my start again. Another great part of being in Akron is our soccer field is dead center of campus.
Yeah.
So one side of campus is all athletics, and the other side is all academics, and our stadium is in the dead center of it. So if you go to the Student Union at Akron, it's pretty hard to get there without seeing our stadium. If you're going to classes, it's pretty hard to not see our stadium. Same thing if you're going to our track, you'll see our stadium. Overall facilities, our school offers absolutely everything. Whether it's you need cryotherapy for recovery, you need whirlpool, you need swimming pool, you've got an athletics weight room, and we have one for men's soccer, football, swimming, and then we have another one for the 2 basketballs.
Wow.
And there's literally everything you'll ever need on our campus, and all of this still within that compact area that kids don't need. You don't need a car to go to University of Akron. You can walk everywhere, right? Some people have bikes. It's more of a way of just getting there faster, not a necessity, right? Our game field is looking amazing. We were out on it yesterday. We had a camp yesterday, and it's playing fantastic. We have a turf training field. We have an indoor facility that's full size, that if we need, if the weather gets poor or it snows or whatever you need, so you get to train all year round. We literally have everything you could ever possibly need as a soccer student athlete on campus. And obviously these facilities are still available if you come here to play tennis or whatever you choose to do.
Whatever sporting code. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mentioned your stadium. I've seen photos on the internet. It looks ridiculous. It looks absolutely amazing. How many people can it fill inside that stadium, full capacity?
I think I want to say our let me look it up here real quick and I'll tell you exactly.
I mean, I've seen while you pulled that up, I've seen some of the videos on YouTube and see some of the videos on social media, and it looks like you're going to a professional game. For us New Zealanders here, it's like going and looking at a big rugby stadium that one of the big super teams plays in.
No, our stadium, our game field is amazing. We can the highest attendance is 7,200. That's been in there. It's happened. We've hit 6,000 to 7,000 a couple of times. We actually have Ohio State back on our schedule for this coming season. The last time we played them here was 6,500 at the game. And I mean, when we call the hill is basically our cop, if you know professional soccer, that's where our hooligan fans go that give some abuse to opposition players and make it hard for opposition. When that's when we say fill the hill and the hill is full, it's an amazing place to play. Amazing place. It's the main bleachers, the main stand is so tight to the field. I mean, they can touch the players, taking throw-ins on oppositions if they choose to. It can be a hostile place to play. If you go online and look up some of the videos of some of our games, it's really, really good place to play soccer, an unbelievable soccer environment that you don't get in a lot of schools in the US, right? You go to some schools and it's a nice facility and there may only be 200 people at it. It doesn't matter if it's wind, rain or shine. Our fans will always be there cheering us on. And it goes back to the brand of soccer that we play. Obviously helps put some butts on the seats too. But when push comes to shove, our fans show up and we get some asses on seats. So
how good. Well, let's talk a little bit now about what you like in recruits. I know we spoke prior to this conversation and I said I want to get into some of the red flags, but before we get there, I wanted to find out what you like in recruits. Now, I remember when we were talking a few years ago, it wasn't even started last year, about one of our own recruits. one of the things that stood out was the student athlete's ability, athletically wise. They were quick. You said you like playing from the back. That's your playing style, and then going forward. Is athletic ability something big that you continuously look at across all different positions?
I mean, at the end of the day, the student athlete has to be a good enough player to play at a university, right? And the reality is not everybody can play here. Anybody can be on a roster, but at the end of the day, having a student athlete come here and never play a game is not what anyone wants to do, right? So athletic ability at the end of the day is the most important. If you're athletically not good enough to be on a team, there's no point training every day and being the weakest player every day with no end goal of eventually being a key player or a starter.
Right.
So that's the be all and end all, is the athletic ability is the most important. However, the other things that come into it, the character of the kid, whether that can be, being reliable with going through the eligibility center, being reliable with communication, and honesty between the player and the coach, that they're not going to BS you when you're having meetings, and honest meetings about why you're playing or why you're not playing, or scholarships or renewals or anything like that. There's going to be honesty. So that there's a couple of things that we look at initially in the first start of the process. I would go identify a player, believe he could play here, and then it comes into, okay, if I send a text or an email, am I getting a response? Is the response happening in a timely manner? Do we set up a call at 2 p.m. and both of us are on the call at 2 p.m. or am I waiting? Is it 2:15? Is it 2:20? Whatever it is. They're all things that as a coach that frustrate you, because ultimately, eventually you're going to be one player in a team of 30. And if everybody was not able to be on the same page and communicate and be together as a team, it's pretty difficult to have somebody lag behind and not be available when called upon,
For sure.
There are definitely things in the recruitment process that you look at, and then obviously other aspects that come into it is finances and all other stuff like that.
Right. Okay. So punctuality. When you contact an athlete, right, you said you want them to respond in an appropriate manner and also within a good amount of time from receiving that message from you as well. If you set up a call for an athlete and say, hey, look, let's say it's an international athlete from New Zealand, and it is 4 p.m. your time, which would be very early in the morning here. And you say, look, are you able to speak this time? If an athlete says, no, coach, sorry, it's too early for me. It's 5 a.m. It's going to be 4 a.m. Do you take that into an account on how much they really want to be there?
I think there's got to be some sacrifices on both sides, right?
Yep.
I've had a couple of kids from New Zealand in my time, both at Missouri State and at Akron, and there's been times when I did the 4 a.m. wake up, and there's been times when the recruit did it. And I think in many ways it's just a case of who's willing to, right? So how much does it mean to your potential student athlete to be awake at that time, or how much do I need the kid on my team, right? So I think there's definitely sacrifice on both sides. I don't believe it should always be one way, but that's just me. Some coaches could be like, no, I want to make sure that they're willing to be there for our team and whatnot. Me personally, I think I would be willing to make sacrifices, but I'm also a night owl, so I'll be probably still awake at 3 a.m. if I need to be, right? So I don't have kids, so it's a little easier. But ultimately, I think as advising a student athlete, let me rephrase this. Because I want to make sure, because I know this is important to. I'm trying to think of what I want to say. I want to say that the coaches need to make sacrifices as well as players, but at the end of the day, your kids have to show that they're willing to do anything.
Yes.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to say. Because I think that's what you want me to say, right?
Yeah, I think that nails it on the head. And, the buck doesn't just stop there. Once athletes sign with you, you expect them to be there 110% and to give their time to you, because you're giving them so much money and such a massive opportunity. A great example recently is I've got an athlete, which I won't name, going to a particular university, which I won't name. And this athlete's already signed with this big Division I school, and they were going to have a team meeting, and the athletes are located at different parts around the world. Now, my athletes have been great. They've been getting up at 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning at weird times to meet the time zone for the team meetings. This athlete, it was his first ever meeting with the team. He hasn't arrived at the university this August yet. And his response to the coach was, "Sorry, coach, I need to get some sleep." That didn't sit well with the coach. And so I guess you need to understand how much are you getting from this program and the sacrifice you have to make in order to make sure that that opportunity does not go away, because I've seen some opportunities disappear before from people.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. So I'll bring up Zoom meetings and stuff like that then too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about now the red flags. You're a big time program. You've had a lot of success. You're an amazing conference with brilliant facilities. A lot of kids want to go there. You must get quite a few emails asking for opportunities, right? How many emails would you get a day, roughly?
At least 100, probably, to our men's soccer account.
Right. And what are some of the things that are red flags for you and like help you filter through those? Is it the way they write the emails? Is it the information they provide you? Is it the highlights reel with weird music? What sort of things are like, ugh, that's a bit of a red flag?
In the initial email, I think the red flags are usually, how well put together the email is important, right? Is it, if the email says, "Hey mate," or, "What's going on," or something along those lines, it can be a little bit, off-putting initially. When you get down to the video, the things that the red flags can be, the level of the game. What type of video are you sending? I'm not sure I want to watch somebody do keepy uppy juggles in his backyard. Right? I want to see a game. I want to see you.
Yeah.
I want to see a referee in the game that you're showing me. Right. Even sometimes training video may not be good enough. And the music can be off-putting. It can be, it doesn't have to be nice music. It just sometimes when you're in a work environment watching a video, you don't want to get some swears and you have to lower down your sound on your computer. Right. It's got to be music that you can listen to in any environment, whether it's in a cafe and you're drinking a coffee, or it can be at home. You just want the music to be normal, or you know what? Don't even put music on it.
I prefer that. I prefer with our athletes, like if we can use the raw audio from a game,
right?
I prefer that than like putting on like a music track or something.
If you're a centre back and you're going to win a header, and I hear you say Tommy going up to win the header, rather than listening to some, Ed Sheeran music, I think I probably prefer you to, to hear you saying, okay, you commanded that ball and you went and headed it 40 yards or whatever it was,
Yeah.
That's me personally too. I know some people like music they think it makes it look better, but me, I think I would prefer the raw footage too. In terms of red flags after that, obviously if I get an email from a kid, I see his name, you check his social media, what's on it, what type of things is the recruit putting out to the world? Is it, a great win by Italy at the Euros, or is it, I'm so glad that there was riots at the game? I don't want to read that, right? I want to see direct. It doesn't have to be a nice tweet. I mean, you can have a conversation with somebody and disagree with things. That's no problem. Is there swearing in it? Is there, different types of foul language? Is there racism in it? Whatever. It can be lots of, it can be lots of different types of things that will just be an ultimate red flag. And we have had we had one kid who we were at the point of sending an NLI, and he wrote something on his social media, and that was the end of it. And it was that day I walked into the head coach. I said, "What do you think of that?" And he said, "I don't want that." And that was it. We went to a particular city in the States 3 times to watch this kid.
Wow.
And we took him on an official visit. He had his NLI sent to him, and it was pulled before he sent it back to us. So we were at a point when this kid, we were all in and pretty much had him planned to be in our team for the next year on a scholarship. and his opportunity of thousands of dollars from us was just taken away because of, it wasn't one tweet. There was a couple of other, not so good ones. I wouldn't say they were terrible, but they weren't great. And then there was just one time he went over the top that was just too far, And at the end of the day, as a college coach, you don't want to go to bed on a Saturday night wondering what the heck your kids are going to be saying and doing, right? You want to go to bed with clear peace of mind that you wake up Sunday knowing that your team didn't get in trouble.
Yes.
Right? There's nothing worse for a coach than having to have somebody on the team that you're just constantly worried about what type of person they're going to be, right? Because at the end of the day, if they're bad people, they'll end up getting suspended, not for anything soccer related. It will be suspended for something stupid that then, ultimately my boss has to answer questions to the athletic director about saying, hey, why is this guy on the team? We don't need that, especially in a university like ours that has people from all different parts of the world, all this different type of races. And our team is, 10 different nationalities on it as well. So it can be something as silly as, slagging somebody off or, writing something about somebody's sister on it. It's not gonna fly with a university like ours. We have enough players that want to play here without needing guys that aren't going to be model citizens.
Coach, I got to say, what you just said was liquid gold. That is so good for athletes to hear. And if you're listening to this, you've heard me go on about social media. Now you've heard it straight from one of the top men's soccer programs in the country. It is very important what you post, and they don't just check Instagram. Even if your account is on private, they will find ways to find the information. And if you've got other forms of social media, they'll be looked into as well. Quite a few coaches say to me, Umrit, when I look at a recruit, I just type their name in Google. Something will come up. Whether it's a tweet that they've done, whether it's a Facebook post, it will all come up on Google. And so you've got to be careful about the digital footprint that you are leaving behind as well. That's really important. I mean, we're in 2021. Back when I was when I was going to go to college, when I was, I think, 2010, 2011, we could get away with a few things. Now you can't. Not that I did, disclaimer. But, it was definitely, now you're under a big microscope. And, when you get given a scholarship, you are part of a big brand. You've got responsibilities now. There's a thing called associated reputation, and an amazing program, an amazing coach like Coach Coppinger is not going to align themselves with something that's going to tarnish that brand or that opportunity. Now,
and also just one last point, they can also be a case, in our school, we're very upfront with who we're recruiting to our team. So there's multiple times that our centre back will come in saying, hey, how come I'm not playing? And the conversation will be, well, you're not playing because this, and this. And the conversation will end with, we're looking to bring a centre back in for next year as well. Right? So we're very upfront with guys that we're recruiting for our team, to the point that where our captain will add guys, random guys that are like, hey, we're going to recruit Johnny from Ireland. And our captain will be like, oh, nice. And then he goes on his Instagram and adds Johnny from Ireland without Johnny really knowing who he is. And then the captain can also be like, hey, I'm not sure about him. If it's something bad enough, the kids will just rat out players anyway. So you got to be careful about, even if you're on private, who you're accepting, but also about what you're putting out there.
That is some brilliant advice. I'm really glad that you said that. And athletes, please let that sink in. I know a lot of parents agree with that. And, parents come and tell me, we've been telling our daughter or our son not to do these things on social media, but now you've heard it. Coach, what's your upcoming schedule looking like? Have you guys released your schedule yet?
Yeah, we actually just released it last week. Sorry.
Yeah.
And we have 3 of the final 4 coming to play us this year. So we have
big time.
We have Indiana and Pittsburgh at home, and then we travel and play Marshall. So we get to play national champions, who we actually beat this past year. So they get a nice grudge match with us back at their place. So so we're playing 6 Big Ten teams. We're playing Pittsburgh, and then we'll obviously have our we'll have our conference games then as well, which we're looking to take back home to Akron again. So it's been a year and a half without it being here. So that's a year and a half too long for our fans. So that's the goal for this coming year, which we're pretty excited about. We have a top 25 recruiting class coming in again, that we believe is gonna be really successful for us, and all of our seniors returning, for the COVID year.
Let's go. I'm pumped. This is going to be one exciting season, eh? It's like been a big build-up, hasn't it?
Right, that's it. It's, you could say what you want about the spring season. I believe the healthiest team won it. The team that didn't have any issues with COVID, and fair play to them. And now, hopefully, in the fall, we can get it back to a little bit more normal, and make it a real season again. For us, our season was going really well last year. We were 4-1-1. We beaten Marshall. We drew a Kentucky on the road, 2 good games, and then we got struck with COVID, and it was basically all uphill from there. We had games when we only had 12, 13 guys available, which made it tough. So, we got struck with it pretty bad when we believed we were in a good place, So, hopefully this semester now we can stay clean and healthy, and I know we have a good squad. There's no question about that, and I believe we can have a good year.
Absolutely. Well, if you're watching this, go check out Akron Men's Soccer on Instagram, Facebook. Check out their website. You can also watch their games live. I definitely think you should. If you are considering, going to a big time program and you're 14, 15, 16, you will know the pace that they play at, the physicality, you can see it, and then you can start putting things in place so you're working towards that, so you can try and secure an amazing scholarship at a fantastic program like Akron yourself. Coach, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. As I said, I think this will definitely help, educate a lot of athletes and parents about the college system. I'm really pumped to be releasing this. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck for this season. I can't wait to watch some games.
Thanks, Amrit. All the best to the kids going to their new schools in the fall.
Awesome. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, man.